the follow-up to the largest investigation ever conducted by the psychics, a dreadful murder of a Ukrainian beauty in Hollywood, and a mysterious entity haunting a young woman. What ties the two women, dead and alive, together? You will find the truth shocking. This is Psychics Investigations. Only true and impressive stories are collected here. People who call themselves clairvoyants undertake investigations of unbelievable paranormal phenomena and resonant criminal cases. In the previous episode, the psychics started an investigation to save a mother of two from her deceased husband's ghost that visited her in her dreams, calling her to the netherworld.
I was sleeping and then opened my eyes and saw his face. It was him.
Each time Uliana's late husband visited her, she found herself in grave danger, and she fears that her children may become orphans. But no sooner had the psychics taken up the investigation than something unexpected happened. The English clairvoyant Anna Galliers, who was supposed to arrive in Ukraine from the USA, couldn't depart because of the wildfires in California and saw a ghost of a beautiful young woman.
Her name was Jana, and she'd moved to the US from Ukraine and was murdered here.
I read about it. A young woman from Kiev went to live in the US, and there, her husband murdered her and mutilated her body.
Blake Leibel is a Canadian who lived in the US. He's an author of books and comic books. He murdered our Jana.
Jana told me, if you want to know who's murdering the Ukrainian woman, look for the answer in my death. And then bloody tears ran down her cheeks.
Meanwhile, at Uliana's home, the clairvoyants found it wasn't her husband who was hunting her.
He's trying to protect your family.
He fell victim to some otherworldly entity that's hunting you now.
But what kind of entity is it? And what connects Uliana to Jana, who was murdered in Hollywood?
Jana is now showing me a fair-haired young woman, and I hear her shout out curses to Jana. It appears she stood between the wife and her husband.
Yes, he had a mistress. It was a young woman from Ireland. When Jana learned about it, she got really upset and she cried.
Jana even visited her rival's home to ask her to leave her husband alone.
There were scandals and curses addressed to Jana.
However, Jana suspected that the other woman's curse was not simply verbal abuse, since when she entered her apartment, she found her doing something very strange.
She was doing some magic.
Is it possible that the man murdered Jana influenced by his mistress's magic? And probably it is the reason the victim's spirit can't leave this world? Jana says that Uliana's in deadly danger because of another love triangle.
I also saw the love triangle. Did your husband ever tell you he cheated on you?
I had a friend, and we used to be very close. And then Vasya, he told me it.
That he made love to your friend?
Yes.
Does your friend happen to practice magic?
There are rumors. She once brought me a plant in a pot. It was at my place for some time, but then she took it back.
She could have added soil from a cemetery to the pot. Where does she live?
In the neighboring street. When she came out, her eyes looked like she was afraid of something.
Why did you bring the flower pot to Uliana's home?
I had nowhere to put it because we were renovating our house.
The woman claims that when the renovation of the house was completed, she took the potted plant back.
Can I have your hands?
Yes.
No, I don't see magic. You don't practice it.
I never did it.
So there was nothing in that pot? Did you sleep with her husband?
Absolutely not.
But he told me
He said he did it, right?
Yes.
No, it never happened. Uliana, I swear.
There was no affair between them. Despite his words, he did nothing.
I felt a lot better that Uliana finally heard the truth.
I hear strange words. Leave him.
Yes, I told her so. He abused her and she cried bitterly. So I told her to leave him.
Uliana says she and her husband indeed had occasional conflicts as any other family, but she took them very close to her heart and shared her emotions with her friend.
It looks like Vasya didn't want Olena to interfere in their family's business, and so he made up a story of the unfaithfulness. He told you he'd slept with her to make you part ways with her.
Well, he succeeded in it. We even stopped to say hello to each other.
My advice is that you reconcile now and resume your friendship.
The friends don't even know how to thank the psychics. Thanks to our experts, the awful misunderstanding is finally resolved.
It's a load off my shoulders. I'm happy it happened, so...
And then I felt like I was being watched by somebody. When I looked back, I saw the ghost of the woman with the cat in her arms. She laughed with weird laughter and disappeared.
The cards again told me that the mysterious entity was haunting Uliana's family because of the love triangle and insanity. And for some reason, I again heard the words, "Leave him."
At the same time, Ana Galliers, who was working in California, heard the same words.
A woman told Jana, "Leave him." I feel it's somehow connected to the love triangle.
It turned out that Jana's mother told her this when her daughter confided in her about her husband's unfaithfulness.
I said, "Jana, please leave him."
But the man convinced Jana to come back.
He texted her something like, "Darling, I'm waiting for you at home." But I told her, "Don't reply him and don't go there."
Jana is telling me, I was stupid not to listen to Mom.
That day was the last time the mother saw her daughter alive.
I was anxious because she wouldn't answer her phone. I decided to wait until the evening, but when I called again, she didn't answer.
The next morning, Olha left her granddaughter with her friend and hurried to the place where her daughter and her husband lived. Nobody answered the door.
I started shouting and calling Blake. Their balcony was quite high. When he closed the balcony door, I ran up to the front door and began pounding it with my fists.
But all was in vain. After that, Olha called the police.
I asked them to break the door. I told them she had given birth recently and had a C-section. I told them I thought he'd killed her.
Jana's spirit says only my scream could have saved me, but I was unable to scream.
The police officers didn't hurry to break down the door to the apartment.
They said, "We have no right to enter the apartment if we hear no noise from the inside."
I saw a terrible picture. The mother, overcome with concern for her daughter, rushed towards the building, yelling like a wounded animal, while the murderer proceeded to brutally murder her daughter.
The police only broke down the door on the third day, but it was too late.
They said nothing. I understood Jana was gone. I started yelling, but they would hold me back, saying I couldn't go in there. I blame myself for it, as I think there was a chance to save her. I live with this pain every day, every minute and second of my life. Her daughter is my only consolation. If only she could see her own daughter.
The baby lost her mother and father when she was less than a month old. Her grandmother is now raising her. It took the woman an incredible effort to take custody of her granddaughter and bring her to Kiev.
I went through all of the court procedures and paperwork. I was so worried they would take my baby away.
Jana's murderer was sentenced to 3 life terms in prison. However, Olha believes that this punishment is too mild for such a beast.
I couldn't understand what Jana and Uliana had in common. But then the victim said strange words. Murderous infidelity is what connects us.
Ana says that Uliana is in danger because of murderous infidelity.
Uliana, do you know what it could mean?
No.
Meanwhile, the British clairvoyant keeps working with Jana's spirit.
She's showing me herself lying on a bed, mutilated. Her tormentor is standing above her, and there's a picture next to him. In the picture, there is a bleeding woman with her head severed. Her husband drew it. Blake created pictures of murders.
As it turned out, Blake Liebel was the author of a series of comic books about a maniac. This is the picture that was next to the bed in the room where the murderer killed his victim.
But what did the picture have to do with it? Was it related to Jana's murder? And then her spirit told me, a monster killed me.
Meanwhile, I was trying to sort out what was killing Uliana. A woman is haunting you. She sheds bloody tears. Wait. When we entered the house, I saw her in the mirror on the wardrobe door. I felt the dead woman with bloody tears was killing the family. But why and who was she? I needed to go back to Uliana's house urgently.
On the other continent, Anna Galliers began talking about an otherworldly entity that keeps tormenting Jana even after death.
The entity that's holding Jana in this world emerged through magic, but her husband's mistress has nothing to do with it. Oh God, Jana herself used the magic. I feel that she put a love spell on her husband.
Later, her friends told me that Jana went to see some fortune tellers there, in the U.S.
However, something else made Blake kill Jana. The magic ball showed me that he took drugs. They transformed the man's mind completely.
He smoked weed. When we asked the neighbors, they confirmed he did it. They said they'd felt the scent.
The magic and the drugs caused insanity in Blake. And at that moment, he thought he was in the world of his comic books. He saw himself as their protagonist, and he did to Jana the same thing as the maniac in his picture. What's worst of all is that with the spell, Jana bound herself to her murderer. And this is why her spirit can't leave this world. Her spirit suffers awfully because every day, every minute, she feels the pain he caused to her. I have to release her. I carried out the ritual to break the bond between the murderer and his victim. She's free now. Nothing is holding her to the world of the living anymore. But I still couldn't get how Jana was connected to Uliana. And then I heard Jana's voice again. She told me, search for the murder and him who lost his mind.
The woman with bloody tears stood in front of me. When I saw her better, I felt cold creeping down my skin. She was all hurt badly.
I saw her earlier.
She lacks a half of her hair. She's tormented. Her face is ripped.
She's your mother.
Wait. I see your father killed her.
Yes.
It turned out that the man, unable to control his fury, tortured his wife in the apartment where they lived.
I received a call from the police, and they told me my mom was gone. She was badly disfigured. Her neck was broken, an eyelid was torn off, her ribs were all fractured, and she had a closed craniocerebral injury. She was all bruised.
I see a dead animal next to her. It's also dead. What is it?
A cat. They had a cat. Her name was Musia, and the cat was beaten to death too.
This was why I kept seeing the ghost of the woman with the cat.
When Uliana's father came to and saw his dead wife, he didn't even understand what had happened and asked his neighbors to call the police.
He didn't yet realize Mom was gone. I told him, "You did it to Mom," and he said, "I didn't touch her. I didn't lay a finger on her." But the next day he confessed everything. She was hurt so much. What unbearable pain it was.
Uliana's father tortured his wife, just like Jana's husband tortured her in the US. I felt the reason for it was also love. The cards are showing me a love triangle. Did she have a lover?
It was her boss at work. Dad knew about it.
It turned out that Uliana's mother was unhappy in the marriage with her father. They were too different.
The murdered mother was crying and saying her husband wouldn't let her go. He threatened her, saying, "If you leave me, I'll kill both you and your lover." And he punished her for not being faithful for many years by beating and hurting her. Thus, one day, he beat her up to death.
He passed me a letter through his lawyer in which he wrote that he had loved and would always love her.
But Uliana can't understand such kind of love that can make you take another person's life.
At my mother's funeral, I promised her that he would answer for every bruise on her body. I can't forgive him. Never.
Could he be the madman? Nobody in their mind could do anything like that to somebody else. Did Anna mean him?
According to what I feel, the threat to Uliana came from her dead mother. But I couldn't understand how it could be. Why would a mother want to kill her child?
She's showing me you shut the door on her.
Uliana says she begged her mother to leave her father, but it was all in vain.
I cried and kneeled in front of her, but she wouldn't listen.
This was why I'd heard those words. You must leave him. Did you say this to your mom?
Yes. She would come to see me and I saw a bruise and ask her, "Mom, did Dad beat you?" And she'd say, "No, it wasn't Dad. I swear I did it myself."
Uliana would often host her mother at her home, but she would always come back to her husband. Eventually, the daughter got sick of it, and so, when her mother came to her after yet another beating, Uliana didn't let her in. A few days later, her mother was gone.
I feel so sorry for her. I didn't do what I could do. It would have been different.
Do you see your mother at home all the time?
She stands looking at me and laughing.
I also heard strange laughter from the woman with bloody tears. And I kept thinking about what it could mean. And then I finally realized she lost her mind before she died because of the pain.
The woman said she was angry with her daughter for shutting the door on her.
Whatever awful it might sound, it is Uliana's mother who is trying to kill her. It was her who took her husband to hurt her daughter.
I beg you, please, help me. I don't want my children to be orphans.
She's here.
You must apologize to her.
Address her through the fire.
Mom, Mummy, please forgive me for failing to protect you. I miss you so much. I am sorry for letting him do this to you. Forgive me, Mom. Please forgive me. Let me stay here with my children. I felt Mom pat me on my head. I felt her touch my hair.
She stands, crying.
Mom, I will always love you and remember you.
She's gone. She deserves rest.
I'd like to thank you so much for helping me. I am sincerely grateful. Thank you.
After the investigation, it was all clear to me. Jana in the US bound herself to her husband with magic, while Uliana's father tried to bind his wife to him with force. The efforts of both ended tragically. One of them became a victim and the other became a murderer. If someone doesn't love you, you can't make them be with you.
If you're impressed by the story, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. Many more incredible investigations by the psychics are coming up.